Hey, what's up, people? How's it going? Today is January 20th, 2023. And I'm going to continue on about Chippendales. There's a lot of funny stuff. It was I'm not just this episode, and then we'll move on. But it's also a lot to do with graffiti, like PK and Jaff and all those Astoria writers. Yeah, with them and everything, with car radios and breaking into cars and stuff. So it's an interesting story. But also, I have few people that told me that Cope 2, Fernando, Cope 2, he went on some Instagram or something like that, talking bad about me or something. And I don't know, I can't read it because he has me blocked. Probably ever since the Peter Luger's Steakhouse fiasco. Yeah, I don't think he ever unblocked me or nothing. But I don't know, I can't. You see, you know what it is? We're New Yorkers. He's a New Yorker, I'm a New Yorker. Street kids. He's had it bad. He was living up in the Bronx there. Probably a lot worse than I've had it. But that's kind of like how New Yorkers say hello to each other. So I don't think he'd be anything bad about anything. If not, he's just blowing off steam. That's what we do. We fuck with each other every so often, But, yeah. I don't know how else to put it, man. Like, for instance, growing up in New York City, when we would see a friend of ours, hey, scumbag, a fucko, yo, what up, fucko? Scum nut, and we slap people, get them right back here in the neck. That's what we did. Like, you know how you guys, I don't know, but there's a thing that was pretty popular in New York. I don't know if other people played it, but it was called Punch Buggy. So if you saw a Volkswagen Bug, you punched the guy in the arm. You got me every time you saw him. But we would like kick or punch each other in the balls. I mean, we would, we'd fall on the fucking floor. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what we would do, especially Frankie Gator and John, and D3, Sammy too. Yeah, he used to do that shit to me a lot. We would all do it to each other. We'd always whack each other in the balls. Or if we saw someone coming down the block and they didn't see us yet, we'd like hide behind a van and we'd wait till they paid, we'd jump out, caught you sleeping. Yeah, that was fun. That's what people do. So yeah, he's probably just, that's how we say hello to each other, I can't think nothing else into it. But yeah, I'll tell you, man, we used to fuck around so much, all that crazy shit, man. It was funny. But yeah, I don't know, if he is talking all this and that about what he's going to do, can he do this? Huh? Eh? All right, eh? All right, so anyway, yeah, getting back to this whole thing with Chippendales now. They had the Chippendales, First Avenue, and across the street you had the sandwich shop, which was called Dominic's. It was a sandwich store. They used to have a big skinny dog out there. They used to always swear it was some kind of big cop dog or something like that. Let me pause this for a second. I hear someone at my window. It's breaking my concentration. They're actually calling me. Give me a second. All right, sorry about that, people. This old lady, I forgot I told her I would help her with her laundry. I just helped her real quick. Yeah, she had to bring it over to the laundromat. I told her, I'd help her. Yeah. All right, so we were talking about Chippendales in that area and the car thieves, like the dudes from Queens. When they were started, like PK, Jaff, Ross, Bice, Sear, Sear 357, but I've done a lot of shit with Sear, man. I just don't talk much about Sear because if I ever do decide to write graffiti, he does the big stompers, and that's the person I'd go with. So I don't really talk much about Sear, but yeah. Sear used to be out there. All these dudes would be robbing the fucking neighborhood, man. Where I lived, they'd be coming over the bridge. I lived right over the Queensboro Bridge in Manhattan. So they'd be coming over the neighborhood. They'd be fucking robbing that shit. They'd go straight through every single block. And they'd be, poof, they'd be breaking that shit, stealing all the car radios, leather coats, everything they could find in cars. They had it shit like a system, man. Them dudes in Astoria, for real, like we in Manhattan, we never knew about the center punch. We would throw a handful of rocks at the window of a car and it would shatter, just like we would do with a storefront window. A storefront window, I had a jackhammer, I had the bit to a jackhammer bit, and I'd run up and boosh. That's how I do the storefront windows. That's how I did Serendipity, with a big jackhammer bit. Crowbar, for some reason, you hit it with a crowbar. You'd be like, boom, 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 boom. The jackhammer bit, right through it. Yeah, I did Serendipity's window once. I stole the big stuff, like taxidermy, big cinnamon bear. Yeah, it's fucking huge. I was carrying that shit around. Put that shit on my shoulder, running down the block with it. Yeah, I got a couple $100 for that shit. Nowadays, I see them things expensive, man. Especially like a brown cinnamon bear. Yeah, like thousands of dollars, 10,000, something like that. Funny shit. But yeah, we would run around, like I said, with little pebbles, bearings. Some people would take a spark plug and they break off the porcelain parts of the spark plug, throw it at the car, and it breaks the window. But anyway, these dudes were fucking going off, man. And dudes from Astoria, like I had mentioned, and even had, like I said, Lee 3 was involved with that shit. A bunch of them dudes, man. They were just going off. Jeff, I don't know who was the most. From what I've heard and just hanging out with them, I believe Jeff was the best at it. But I've always seen PK more. And Rost always. Rost and Bice always. Sear was out there a lot later on into it with Bison, and they were going heavy. When the older guys slowed down a little bit, yeah. All of them just going off, man. They were robbing that shit. So now, the guys near Chippendales, the old guys, Italians and shit like that, they would be like, yo, rob it. They'd always be bugging me and my brother about this shit. Now, yeah, we would break into a car, but not necessarily for a car radio. And this isn't even before I started hanging out up in John Jay Park with a lot of them dudes. And at that turning point, this is like early 80s until mid 80s. Yeah, at this point, it's like 83, 84, 82. So I was hanging out mainly with like Eddie Bannock and them, the dudes from 68th Street Park. But I always had the dudes on the 60th Street, 61st Street Park, like the old guys. Probably as old as I am now is probably how old the youngest one of them was. Now these fucking kids, like they didn't like me for nothing, man. And they would be always telling me, you and your fucking friends keep coming around here. You're breaking into all these fucking cars. You better fucking lay it off. Yo, once went, well, that had nothing to do with that. But yeah, they actually put my face in shit once. Yeah, I was young then. I was like 10 years old, man. And they put my face in dog shit on the sidewalk. But I was out in front of where they hang out and with firecrackers. And I would put one in a piece of dog shit. Bang! And, you know, I lit it, and I was with my dog, and she said, bang! And apparently it got on one of their legs. Like, you know, these guys, they sit outside, like, the dog shit got on one of their legs or something. And I was actually walking my dog at that point. So later on, I come back, I remember Sunday News, the paper. I go to get the Sunday newspaper late Saturday night. When it comes in, my mom would send me over there. And they grabbed me up. I was little, man. These were grown men, like how old I am now. I was like 10. Put me on the, started smearing my face in the dog shit on the street. And something about some dude's pants or something like that. So yeah, I really stayed away from them dudes. And they kind of looked at me, my brother, as like Irish, like nutties, like nuts. Yeah. My mother, she was known to have a drinking problem, and she was Irish, to talk with an Irish accent, and she'd be drunk in public, so they had that to mock me about. So yeah, I really didn't fuck with them dudes like that. But yeah, man, when these dudes from Queens were breaking into all the cars and just going off, they kept blaming me and my brother for it. Like, and I'm like, man, I was doing it, but not like that. Like these dudes from Queens, they really did that shit like a job. Like they would do I swear, they would go from York Avenue all the way up 61st Street to fucking 5th Avenue. You can't go any further, you got Central Park. Then they go down 62nd Street, all the way to the, they would just go through every single fucking block on these little BMX bicycles. Push, 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 just break into every fucking thing, man. For real, it was like a fucking hurricane. These dudes from Astoria, Queens, man. It was like a fucking hurricane. I was taking the heat for all that shit. And even the dudes up in 68th Street Park, they're pissed, man. They're like, yo, who the fuck? This blah, blah, blah. Yo, they're making the neighborhood hot. They're fucking everything up for us. Just like everyone wanted to kill them dudes. Matter of fact, one of them got caught out there. I was talking about it in my Breyer video, about Breyer. I said it was MI that we caught out there, but it wasn't. It was YO. But someone else did get MI. We were catching everyone. Someone else did. They beat up MI eventually. But yeah, the guy that I was talking about in the story later on, people that were actually there had gotten in touch with him like, yeah, Rob, that wasn't MI. It was YO. With the bicycle and all that shit. You could hear that in the Breyer video that's somewhere down the line there. You could Google into it. But yeah, man. So these guys were going off, man. I didn't know who they were. I didn't connect the graffiti like PK and them with these people. It was just ripping through the fucking neighborhood, man. It was insane. Like everyone was trying to catch them out there, man. And then one day, we'll actually have a video on here. It's a couple of videos back, not even that far, maybe a month ago. It's called like, I'm talking with PK or something like that on my podcast. I mentioned PK 357 in the title of the video. It's like 3 or 4 videos down, 5 videos past this one. It's on my thing. But yeah, so one day, like, everyone's trying to catch these guys and kill them. And we didn't know they were writing graffiti and shit. So I'm coming out my building one day with my dog, right out 344 East 62nd Street, which is right on the next block from where these people were from. And I look, and I see like a dude's feet, like hanging out of a car with the broken glass and everything, you know. So I walk up to him, his lookout's like over there and shit, you know. So I come down and I see he's got ink on him. I'm like, yo, you write graffiti? He's like, yeah, I write PK note. And I'm like, wow, hey, we were best of friends ever since, man. That was like 86. But then after that, we started hanging out with them dudes, and they taught us about like a center punch. Yo, that was a wrap, man. A center punch, it's like a tool you use to punch in a nail. I've explained it all back in the past there. You gotta look at it. It's a tool to break a window. You just put it up to the window like this. You just go like that, it goes push, and it breaks the window, but it shatters it. It don't make it fall. And then you can chop a little hole in it and do whatever the hell you gotta do. It doesn't actually fall. It just makes it all spiderweb out. It works good on storefront windows too. Yeah, after that, forget about it. It was a wrap. But I remember my brother too, they would be asking him, and my brother don't break into cars. He would be out there doing other shit. He'd be robbing people from Chippendales and shit like that on a different level, but he wasn't into the auto body shit like that. You know, there was a Grand Theft Auto and shit like that. That wasn't his cup of tea. Although I do remember he stole a Mercedes with the keys once upon a time. Yeah, it was parked in front of, right on our block actually. But yeah, anyway, getting back to this whole thing. So these same guys, like, beat me up, and like I said, smeared my face and shit because I blew up shit. And I was like 10 years old back then. But then later on, yeah, they had a gas station too. And in this article here, I find out, it's like, yo, we would actually I would be in that gas station again. I had the rooftop of that gas station. I had a big RD on that rooftop of that gas station. The Getty gas station on 60th Street and 1st Avenue. Anyone remember? Comment. I don't remember. I don't think I ever took a picture of it. But yeah, I had a big filling on it. I wasn't running around taking pictures. I didn't think it would ever go away. Now it's a huge fucking building there. That gas station is long gone. It's like a 32-something floor skyscraper now. Maybe even more than 32 floors. It should go up like 50 floors. It's huge. Yeah. A big fucking building. But at the top of that gas station now, and there's another thing, I never knew that until just the other day, that these same guys actually went to the gas station guys and told them, you better give us a room in there and let us park cars here, all types of crazy shit. And the cars that were parked there, we were breaking into and stealing. So now I really understand why they were pretty mad at us for this whole thing, you know, breaking into cars and shit like that, plus mugging people, just straight up robbing people, shit like that. They didn't like it. So yeah, I never really got along with them. But let me read it real quick to you, all right? Actually, I'm going to turn off this thing and turn it back on so I know I get everything in there. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second there. All right. Now, this is a New York Times article. And it was published on December 2nd, 1988. So we're talking about December 2nd, 1988. Now remember on that rooftop, the RD piece, which says Robert, it said 1990. The one before that was like 89, 88. This is the exact same time period as that. All right, so you see what it says here? Front page of it. This was by Stephen Raab. No, Slewin Raab. R-A-A-B is the person who wrote this article for the New York Times. That was published December 2nd, 1988. This is just about the archiving of it and all that. Flip it over here. All right. An organized crime gang that authorities say terrorized... Let me get a little water here. Yeah, water, man. This ain't Canada Dry ginger ale. Alright, now, you see I'm acting stupid, the water went down my wrong pipe. Showing off, acting goofy here, right? Alright, an organized crime gang that authorities say terrorized an Upper East Side neighborhood through murder, extortion, and loan sharking was indicted yesterday under a new anti-racketeering law. For over 2 years, 5 key members of the gang engaged in violence, mainly in the vicinity of First Avenue and East 60th Street, right around the corner from me. The indictment said 2 gang members were accused of luring a rival loan shark to a restaurant in February, shooting him in the head and dumping his body in the East River. The 5 men were identified as members of the Associates of the Gambino crime family, which the FBI has said is the largest, most powerful mafia group in the country. They had a casino on First Avenue, an illegal casino on First Avenue. The indictment also accused gang members of demanding $50,000 from a landlord who objected to their use of his building at 1122 First Avenue as a casino, of assaulting a merchant who refused to turn over his store to the gang's leader as an office, and of demanding 4 apartments from another landlord. They demanded 4 apartments by threatening this landlord, her and her children. The apartment at 333 East 61st Street, now where I live, and you could look at the video, is 344 East 62nd Street. So this is 333 East 61st Street. They were given the gang, let me start that over. The apartments at 333 East 61st Street were given to the gang, are rented to members for about $100 a month. Prosecutors said they were going for $1,500 at that time. Gang members also forced the owner of the Getty gas station at East 60th Street and First Avenue to give them an office and allow them to turn a valet parking service at the station, the indictment said. The Manhattan District Attorney Robert M. Montague said the gang had taken about $12 million in illegal profits from gambling, loan sharking, extortion operations in New York City and Westchester over the last 2 years. Mr. Montague said the 5 men were the first organized figures to be indicted under the State Organized Crime Control Act, which went into effect in 1986 and is similar to the Federal Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organization law. The act established a new Class B felony called enterprise corruption. Under its prosecutors, the prosecutors must prove that members of a criminal group collaborated in a pattern of criminal activity and that each defendant committed 3 or more felonies violations over a 10-year period of time. Mr. Montague also said the men were part of a crew franchised by John Gotti, whom federal and state law enforcement officials have identified as the boss of the Gambino crime family. The owner of one store was warned that he was dealing with the Gotti boys, Mr. Montague said, and he was told that his arms and legs would be broken unless he paid $50,000 and ceased interfering with the crew's use of the property for an illegal casino, a legal gambling casino. Mr. Montague said investigators had no evidence linking Mr. Gotti to any of the crimes. The indictment named Ernest Grillo Jr., 32 years old at the time. That's Ernie. He was all right. He never bothered me. Never even spoke to me, to be truthful. Ernie was all right. All right. So anyway, the indictment named Ernest Grillo Jr., 32 years old, as the leader of the crew and is said was a soldier in the Gambino crime family. A statement issued by Mr. Montague's office described Mr. Grillo as the son-in-law of Anello Della Croce. You know who that is, right? That's that spooky-looking blue-eyed guy. Yeah. Neil, they call him, Neil Della Croce. Yeah. Anello Della Croce, who was the underboss or second in command to the Gambino crime family. He died of cancer in 1985. Mr. Grillo, who still lives in Del Croce's, Mr. Grillo, who still lives in Mr. Del Croce's former home, I'm not going to put the address, but the address is here, in Staten Island. At his arraignment yesterday in state court in Manhattan, Mr. Grillo, wearing a gray leather jacket and carrying a Bible, pleaded not guilty to the suspended Organized Criminal Control Act indictment. That included the murder accusations. He was ordered held without bail. 11 others were also arrested on the blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get the names involved. Blah, blah. Mr. Montague said this guy was the crew's bookkeeper. Blah, blah, blah. Was also known as a loan shark. Blah, blah, blah. Murdered several people and held on the murder of someone pretty much out of Canarsie. That's like the Gemini Lounge type shit. Yeah. All right, who lives on 19th Street and the West Side. Yeah, I don't, that's people's addresses and stuff. We don't want to get into it. But yeah, those are the same people that are like, you fucking dyers, you keep breaking into these cars around here. We're going to kick your ass, this, that. Yeah, they're always mad at us, always tight, They didn't like me, my brother, and they didn't really like my mother either, But yeah, they're always popping shit. The funniest thing, I don't know if it's funny or not, my brother's in prison, but when my brother was processed and charged for murder, one of those same people, he was younger than the rest of them, he actually went to court and testified against my brother. Now, he did not do this to get out of time for serve. He was not in any trouble or anything like that. He just goes to court and even stands in front of the TV set where my brother, with all the TV cameras in front of the house, they're talking about how he's been terrorizing the neighborhood and this and that and all types of very mean, negative stuff. And like he's shocked at the horror, like of the disgust that had happened. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus fucking Christ. Me and my brother, we keep our fucking mouth shut. We look the other way and everything. You know what I mean? Like, the shit that dudes did. Then they're like, it was horrible. The dyers. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the dude actually went on the stand. That shit's crazy. I mean, I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not sitting here putting anything out about the guy. I'm not hunting for the guy or anything like that. I don't give a fuck. You got me? But to sit there and actually go on the stand with that shit after the life the man has lived, and not even like he's ratting to get himself free. He was not in no trouble for anything or anything like that. The weirdest fucking thing ever, man. And the same guy walking around with his chest all puffed out, talking all this shit. Yeah, turns out. But I'm really going to leave the links to these videos because they didn't get much viewing. I guess because the name, it's All Dogs Go to Heaven, Part 1, and All Dogs Go to Heaven, Part 2. It's... in the titling of it, I titled it that way on purpose because at the time I wasn't too comfortable actually talking about it. But yeah, you could go. I'm going to link them in the bio on this thing. I don't want to link too much stuff, but I'll also link the PK video. When PK's talking, you don't see PK. He's sitting off to the side there, and he's talking, and I'm asking questions. And he'll tell you also a little more about how it was when we first met each other and stuff like that. But yeah, man, that shit was funny. They were always mad because, they were shaking down Chippendales and shit like that and for protection. And then here we are, like, I swear, like, Chippendales landed right there, like, right in the middle of this shit, like, right across the street from thieves and thieves everywhere, man. And that shit just landed right there. It was like, everyone's eating and shit. Everyone was like, for real, it was like if it was like a scene like on the Nature Channel, it's like a big like gazelle or a buffalo falls down in Africa. You got the big old lions, they come over and chew shit and get a few mites of meat and stuff. Then you got the crows and the vultures, they get it. And then you got us, like the worms and shit. Everyone's fucking eating off this big dead buffalo or gazelle or antelope or whatever. But yeah, that's how it was. Chippendales was like, no. It had all these people right across the street. They were like, like, we gonna make some money. Hey, motherfuckers like me that was running around like, oh man, yeah. That shit was the best times, man. But yeah, that fucked up, man. I'll tell you, PKM were murdering that neighborhood, man. They were smashing every fucking car, man. They were going off on that shit, man. Like, they were like organized criminals, man. PK and fucking Jaff and all them. The early on dudes, Form, Kaser, fucking Ken, King Kong Ken. Yeah, Ken 357 was out there. That's how I met Ken. Like I said, Chrysler, but yeah, that's another thing. Is speaking about Chrysler, but yeah, with the whole pizza connection, I believe he actually ratted or something. But in that whole thing with the whole connection with Sicily and the mafia and doing the pizza, I find this guy Ernie Grillo was actually one of the main dudes or something like that in that whole thing, like with Sicily. What do they call them, the Zips or something like that? Yeah. I found that interesting. I never knew any of that. I never knew his relationship with Neil Del Croce. Like I said, I'd seen him walk around. Yeah, they had this big old German Shepherd. It's, oh yeah, it's a police dog, you know. And then when I had my dog once, I remember, I was young. Well, I got that dog when I was with John. So I was already about 16, 15 or something like that. So I wasn't that young. But yeah, I had my dog Shannon. I was walking it once, and they're a big old dog. Yeah, it's a police dog. It's trained, you know. Stay away from the dog, kid. It's going to bite you. Yeah. A real police dog, kid. That's what the Italians, you know. I call them Italians. It might sound like I'm being bad or racial or something, but they're Italians. I mean, how else can I explain it? Yeah. So anyway, they're like, oh yeah, this dog, you know. So, I'm always talking high up about the dog. We're little, you know. I looked at that thing. You know what the dog looked just like? If you guys have a moment to Google. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, an old rock and roll folklore group, rock and roll. They had an album called Deja Vu, and on that album they had a dog that looked just like these dudes' dog, man. I'm dead serious, man. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu. It's like they're all sitting on a sofa or something out in a porch. There's a big dog in front of them. That looked just like the dog. Looked like fucking Wile E. Coyote or something. Yeah. So one day this dog, my dog was a female. They got her fixed. Like I explained, it's actually the first dog I ever stole in my life. I've stole about 50 to 70 dogs around there at some point in my life. I was making a lot of money stealing dogs with Reggie, the dog man from up in the Bronx. A lot of people know Reggie. Yeah, Reggie was big on that shit. He used to work for Captain Hagenny's. Yeah, I used to steal a lot of dogs with him up around Hunts Point area and stuff like that. Not people's like pets. We'd steal them from like junkyards and shit like that. People that weren't taking good care of them, so we actually find them. I like to use the word rescue rather than steal, but you could go into all that shit. And like I said, the titles of these videos that I put was like All Dogs Go to Heaven Part 1 and All Dogs Go to Heaven Part 2. Not many people viewed that, but it's on my thing, and I'm going to put it in the link. Yeah, I would say it's some of the best videos I've done yet. It's really hard. It really pulls at the heartstrings. Then 2 videos. I'm going to put them on and watch them. And I'll also add up the PK one. We'll put it in the description. I talked to my son. He said he's able to do that. See, I don't want to put too much shit in my description because then y'all ain't going to see my fucking little buy me a coffee thing, man. Yeah. You know, you guys got to buy me a coffee, man. Spread the word, man. Let people know what's going on over here, you know, in RD world, man. Spread the word, you know, hit that like button, all that shit, man. All right, people, don't forget, buy me a fucking coffee, man. I want that Starbucks shit, man. None of that cheap little crap, man. Yeah, I live on the Upper East Side. I'm a fucking yuppie, okay? Yeah, I want the fancy stuff. I want a mocha latte. Yeah, come on, people. I love you. Just take care. You know I'm just fucking with you, right? I make joke. Yeah, real quick, I forgot to mention. This is pretty interesting because it falls into people that tell on people and rat and stuff like that. That same person that I was just talking about with my brother that went to court and testified and then went in front of the news cameras and was talking about how my brother was like terrorizing the neighborhood, well, the Dyers terrorized the neighborhood for decades and all types of crazy shit. Well, that same guy, I still see him because I live in that neighborhood. Like, I ain't going nowhere. Fuck that. I still see him in the same neighborhood. I see him in the groceries, buying groceries. And you know, he can't even look me in the eye. Yeah. And I'm like a constant reminder of where he went wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't even look me in the eye. I'm not after the person, right? He looks, when he sees me coming, he looks down at the floor and away at his shame. Yeah. At his shame. Yeah. That's what it is. He looks, sees me coming, he looks down. He don't take his eyes off me, but he looks down. Like, he knows he fucked up. Yeah. That's like what happens. I'm going to get into like rats and shit like that. I got a good one about a rat from this neighborhood. A dude that was selling drugs that became a rat in this neighborhood. I think it was Egyptian or something like that. We'll get into that. And then I'll tell you about a graffiti rat that's not from this neighborhood. But yeah, like the differences. I got it in my head. I got so many other things people are asking me about. You keep asking me about Gary Sash. DB, my boy DB, Doobie, 357. Him I'm gonna actually ask. Maybe he'll come on or he could send me a video or something. He's still out there, DB. Yeah, I know DB for a while, man. Doobie, way back. Doobie. Yeah, he pushes 357. You look at some of them pieces on the trains that he was doing, you'll see he writes 357. I never knew, like later on in life, apparently he grew up to be some violent character. But nah, man, good dude, man. It's my peeps. All right, yo. Shout out to DB. Doobie.